This is our interview on cultural competence, and I'm meeting here with Deb, who is from the Jewish community. And Deb, my first question to you is, does the word Jew, is it offensive in your community?
No. We often use that when we speak about ourselves. We refer to us as Jews. When it becomes offensive is when it's paired with a derogatory comment, and so that's when it becomes offensive. But no, we're Jews.
Okay. What do Jewish people believe?
This is really a huge, centuries-long study and question, and it really depends on which. So we're divided into sort of 4 groups. I'm not going to call them sects, but there's Reconstructionist Jews, there's Orthodox Jews, there's Conservative Jews, and there are Reform Jews. Mm-hmm. And depending on which group you align yourself with, the views may be slightly different. I will say sort of the unifying belief is that God is the one true sort of source that we worship. Jews don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God. We believe that he was an amazing man when he walked this earth, but we don't believe, we don't worship him as the Son of God. And let me just add something else. Reform Jews, which I belong to, we take the Bible seriously, not literally. The other end of the spectrum, if you will, the Orthodox Jews take the Bible literally. Okay. And that's a very big difference in terms of how we practice.
Oh, okay. And so the basic beliefs, you just gave me the basic beliefs of Judaism, and that is
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, so one other thing I should add is that we believe that it's our duty here on earth to make this world a better place. We refer to it as tikkun olam. Mm-hmm. So a lot of what we do, our practices, our beliefs are that we're here to help make this world a better place.
Okay. And what does the term the chosen people mean?
I guess I would say that the chosen means that we were chosen by God through Moses to it's really challenging. We were chosen by God to be the deliverers of sort of God's work here on earth.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, my understanding was that the chosen people were the chosen, like nobody else is chosen. That was my understanding. Mm-hmm. But I just wanted to understand what you...
I think when you think about chosen, it means chosen to do the work, but not chosen because we're special. Mm-hmm. I think it's really important to make that distinction, because we would never want to see ourselves, at least the Reform and the Conservative Jews, I guess, and maybe even the Reconstructionists, would never want to see ourselves as sort of in an arrogant or holier-than-thou sort of place. It's really, we were here put on earth to do God's work, I think.
You gave me the different branches of Judaism, and that was the beginning.
So there are the Orthodox Jews. And then there are Reconstructionist Jews, and that was sort of a movement that came, I would say, in the early 20th century. Mm-hmm. Sort of that was born in Europe. And then there are the Conservative Jews, and then Reform Judaism, which is the branch I belong to.
My next question is, what does it mean to be Jewish?
Well, I think what it means is, and sort of what I talked about earlier, that we believe in God. God is what we worship, and who we worship. That we have a sort of sacred moral duty to prepare the world, which again means is in Hebrew is tikkun olam. We are we believe in the Old Testament. We don't use the New Testament at all. We believe that the Torah, which is our Jewish Bible, which is the first 5 books of the Old Testament, is sort of where we get our commandments and our source of information for how we should live our lives.
So you can call the Torah your sacred text?
Yes.
Okay.
Torah.
Would you consider Judaism a race, a religion, or a nationality?
Well, I think some people define themselves as cultural Jews. Some people define themselves as religious Jews. I think it's considered one of the world's great religions, but people define themselves. The other thing I would say about Reform Judaism is that there's no one specific version or vision of who or what God is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very sort of an individual sort of reckoning of what God is to people.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to add that.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna get that.
Okay.
The thing is, like, as far as cultural being, I'm African American, and that would be what my culture is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you say Judaism, is that?
So again, I think there are people who believe that they're born Jewish, but they're not affiliated with religious Jews.
Mm-hmm.
They're not affiliated with any synagogue, but they would certainly consider themselves Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know whether it would be considered a race of people or not. I mean, I think it gets sort of tricky when you refer to yourselves as a race because of all of the sort of the conflict about Jews. And so I'm going to leave that alone. You should ask a rabbi that.
My next question, that takes me to my next question. What is a rabbi?
The rabbi is the spiritual leader of a congregation. And rabbis are extremely learned and educated. And really, rabbi is translated as teacher.
Now, I go to church on Sundays, and you go to synagogue?
So the Jewish Sabbath starts Friday evening at sunrise. All of the Jewish holidays begin at sunset. So our Sabbath starts Friday at sunset and goes through till Saturday at sunset. So the Jewish Sabbath is on Saturdays.
Oh, okay. So it's 24 hours?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it's called Shabbat. Shabbat.
I think you gave it to me earlier, but I was going to ask the question again. What is the Jewish view of Jesus?
So Jews view Jesus as someone who lived and was, a wonderful man, but not the Son of God.
Do Jewish people believe in the afterlife?
They do, but again, it's a very sort of amorphous concept. And I guess it depends on which branch of Judaism you belong to. So there's no sort of prescribed vision or version of what the afterlife is like.
Do you believe in sin?
Yes. So the Jewish high holidays, which occur in the fall, the Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, are the holiest of days in the Jewish calendar. And the time between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is a sort of 10-day period of repentance and sort of absolving ourselves of our sins. And there's all kinds of liturgy that is involved when we have the high holidays, That's one of the very few Jewish holidays that is actually celebrated in the synagogue.
Mhm.
A lot of the Jewish holidays take place in the home.
So those would be considered tradition or, what do you say, tradition or something you do?
Ritual? No. So, it's important that it's celebrated in the synagogue because the rabbis play a very important role in terms of leading the congregation in sort of, very specific prayers that have to do with repenting and atoning. So Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement, where you sort of atone for your sins.
But the other not holidays, what do you call them?
Yeah, we call
Holidays?
them the Jewish holidays.
The
Yeah.
Jewish holidays are considered traditional, like the ones at home?
Yeah, there are lots of traditional holidays that are celebrated in the home and have lots of rituals and traditions associated with them. And food.
Good. What's a menorah?
Menorah is the candelabrum that is used to celebrate Hanukkah. Another word for menorah is chanukia. And it's okay.
I'll have a look at that. Go ahead.
So the menorah is when we light the candles for the 8 nights of Hanukkah.
Can you explain a little bit about Passover?
Passover celebrates the freedom of the Jews from slavery. And so it's celebrated in the spring. There are certain ritualistic foods that we use to celebrate Passover, and they're symbolic of the Exodus from Egypt. We read from something called a Haggadah, which is this telling of the story of the Exodus. And every family celebrates it differently, but generally every family has sort of the same traditions that they celebrate from year to year. So it starts on, the Jewish holidays always start on the evening of the day before. So we have what's called a Seder. Seder means order, and the Seder is the meal at which we read the Haggadah and we eat the sort of symbolic foods. And depending again on your traditions, sometimes there's a lot of discussion and frivolity but there's some prayer, but it's not like going into the synagogue and saying prayers. So a more festive occasion.
And I think you mentioned it, the Haggadah.
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 H-A-G-G-A-D-A-H, which is the story of the Exodus. And there are many, many different versions of the Haggadah, and it depends on if you're Orthodox or Reform.
So Haggadah is part of Passover?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's
Passover is
story
celebrated
in the spring, usually around Easter. And it's
Is it a
celebrated.
specific date or?
Well, so all the Jewish holidays